Hey, we're now at devlog 3, and we have loads of stuff to go over. So, first off, sorry I couldn't get this video out sooner. I actually wrote a script already, but didn't like how it turned out, so I deleted it, then completely forgot to make a new one and start the entire devlog process again. I think I'm on the edge of setting the world's shittiest upload schedule. But let's move on. The first thing I'd like to talk about has some very, very big things attached to it, with the topic being overhauls. Right now, some things are currently being overhauled in some big and some small ways. The first overhaul we'll look at is something that you are actually looking at right now, the visuals. The old visual style, as you can see, doesn't really look like the original Backrooms photo, which is fine depending on what look you're trying to give, but for us it just didn't look right. Because of this, we've upgraded the walls to have the iconic brown stripe at the bottom, as well as have a much higher thickness to add to that claustrophobic feeling. We also changed the color of the map quite substantially. There's also a refreshed set of tiles to go with this that looks a bit nicer with the new style. You might have noticed by now that we do indeed have ceiling tiles. I don't want to touch on it too much since it's gonna be tweaked a little bit, and we also need to add the ceiling lights. But that's pretty much it for the visual overhaul, so let's get on to the backpack overhaul. The backpack is a core feature of the game, so it's important that we get it feeling good to use. Unfortunately, because of Rec Room's chip limit of only 3,000, we had to completely change how it works. The backpack originally looked like this. This version of the backpack had every item displayed in its own tile accompanied by a button to use said item. This wasn't at all chip efficient, with it using about 90 chips per backpack, and keep in mind, we need at least 5 of these. You can very clearly see the issue here of not having enough chips to put anything else in the game. Chip space as a whole recently has been a very, very annoying process to manage. Now, let's look at the new backpack. Don't worry, the visuals aren't final, so it'll look much better than it does now, but the functionality of it will stay the same. The functionality consists of a lot less buttons than there were before, which of course means fewer chips using only 25 per backpack. So how does this new backpack work? Well, to use an item, you now have to cycle to it instead of just a single click, which in my opinion is the only downside, although to help combat this issue, I've come up with a quick slot mechanic, which will allow you to set whatever item you want as a quick slot item and use it with a simple click. I'm still not very happy with this system, but it's the best way to have functionality while also allowing a little breathing room in the future. Okay, the last few overhauls aren't something that you'll really notice when playing the game, so I'll try my best to go over them really quick. First, we have item generation. The way it's been overhauled is simply by making the overall system faster and more chip efficient. You might be noticing a theme here. Second is deployables. You might notice that the subtitle might stick around for a bit if you hover over the deployable button too quickly, but this has to be in here in order to allow screen players to actually see the subtitle on their screen instead of it instantly going away, although I will look for ways to eliminate this. Alright, this last one you'll definitely notice compared to the last devlog, which is map generation. More specifically, map generation time. It's actually gone down drastically because I ended up remaking the system from scratch, so instead of it using a grid of trigger volumes, it instead uses one trigger volume and then uses some vector math to get the remaining positions needed to place the tiles. If you're curious, the new time is now less than a second compared to the 15 it used to be. So that's it for the overhauls. So let's get on to something even bigger. I'd say one of the biggest things about this game is the AI. It's pretty smart considering it was made in Rec Room, and I'm very happy to say that it's finished. Let's talk about the AI in a bit more detail. The way the AI looks is all done by Rick, so I don't have much to say here, but I'd still like to point out how good he looks. All of his animations will be redone to make him feel scarier as well. In the last devlog, I went over the basics of how he works, so I won't be doing that so much here, although I ended up adding a stealth option to him, so if he isn't facing you, then you can actually sneak past him. If you move too fast, however, he'll get angry. As of now, the only time I'll touch the AI is when I need to fix some bugs, which hopefully won't be often. Something that will work in tandem with the AI are guns. We decided to bring them back after realizing how boring the game sort of felt without being able to shoot things, so have fun blasting people to death. As for how they'll work with the AI, they'll stun him for a bit, except this time you have to shoot him 5 times for him to get stunned, so you can't waste your ammo. Something to mention about the AI is how fast he is. At normal walking speed, he can catch up to you really easily, so something to help with this is candy bars. You can find these in crates, or buy them from the vending machine. They make your stamina infinite for 10 seconds, which hopefully gives you enough time to get away from Steve. Yes, that is his canonical name. And yes, I said stamina. Stamina is a really nice new feature in my opinion. Let's go over how it looks first. When running, you'll lose stamina. Your stamina bar will appear in the bottom left of your screen so you can see it gradually go down, which is pretty much like every game. So depending on how much stamina you've used, the color of the bar will change as a nice visual indicator. Alright, so how does it function? Well, when running, it'll go down, obviously. When walking or standing still, it will go up. In the event you use all of your stamina, you will become exhausted and your bar will be red until fully refilled, meaning you won't be able to run for that same duration, so it's important to use your stamina only when necessary since you never know what could be around the corner. Something Stamina can help with greatly, however, is the new map size. The old map size was 100 by 100 meters, but we felt it was just too small for the number of players that could be in here, as well as how easy it was to navigate and find items. So we've actually quadrupled the map size. It is now 400 by 400 meters, or 1,312 feet squared. This allows for a much better play experience, as well as makes the game a bit harder. Because of the map size, we've upped the barrel count from 6 to 20, so it doesn't feel like you're looking for a needle in the haystack. Something new you can find in the map is the site. There isn't a whole lot to it right now, other than a bit of protection with the door and overall a neat looking room, but that might change in the future. Something else that's been added is the death screen. This can tell you not only how you died, but also a tip to help you prevent that death again. Don't worry, it's not just going to be black cube with a button. It's going to look a lot nicer, but Rick has more important things to do right now, which I'll touch on later. Speaking of looks, the puddles are quite terrible. They too aren't final, and as of writing the script, the new puddle model is being worked on, as well as something else that would go with these puddles, but I'll talk about that in a bit. You might be wondering what these puddles do, if anything. So they aren't just here for aesthetic purposes, they can actually help you. When drinking a puddle, your thirst will go up by 30%, and there's a 50-50 chance that you'll get the black mold infection as well. Remember in the first devlog where I slightly hinted towards black mold? Well, it's finally implemented into the game. Rick and I had a lot of ideas about how we wanted to go about implementing it, such as a nest that scattered parasites that could infect you, and things sort of like orbs that would spawn and when you got too close would explode and you would get the infection that way. Because of ink, we sadly couldn't add those features in. However, something we could do to make it not so avoidable while also making it balanced was to add it into the puddles. When infected with the black mold, you'll start to lose thirst rapidly for about 50 seconds, meaning the puddle can hold you over for a bit, but not overall. It will still be a loss and you can still die from it. If you are going to die and you need to cure it, you can craft a syringe that will cure you of the infection and actually heal you in the crafting station. Now remember what I said about the puddles working with something else? Well, that wasn't the black mold. It's actually something called the Duller. This will be a new entity that can now insert himself into a puddle and attack you when you get too close. The Duller will make himself known by ripples in the puddle, so be on the lookout for them, and if there are no ripples, then the water is safe to drink, as long as you don't get that mold infection. Just like the puddles, as of writing the script, Rick is working on the Duller model, so that should be implemented soon-ish. Something that's gotten a few new additions are the modifiers. There are now 4 total additions, being 50% less scrap and nut allergy. 50% less scrap is pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I really need to explain that, but nut allergy will make it so that every time you drink almond water, you lose some health. Some of you may know that we recently dropped a trailer for the room showing off some of these new features, as well as giving a more detailed explanation of what your actual objective is. It also helps to put an actual name to the game, rather than just Backrooms Map, which, if you didn't know, is now Backrooms Blackout. This trailer, however, did not have a release date. It only stated that it was coming soon, so I'd like to shed a bit more light on that. So, we did have an estimated release date, but with the announcement of the new contest, Rick and I have decided to work on a room for that. This, of course, pushes our estimated release date back at least a month, but will also give you a pretty neat game to play while you wait for this one. So that's all I've got for you this time around. I'll try to make another devlog before the game's release, or at least have a stable schedule, but they take a lot of time away from actually working on the game. So that's it for now. So thanks for watching. See ya.